In this video, we're going to paint a zombie ogre. Hello, welcome to the Battling Barrow and a spooky painting video. I'm going to paint this. Show you how I paint this. Zombie ogre. Now, I'm going to say this straight off the bat, and I've said this plenty of times before on the channel. I am not a good painter, so do not expect to learn something in this video, really, unless you're a beginner. What this is more about is just to try and encourage people who are perhaps new to the hobby, new to painting, give it a go. I do painting because I enjoy it, not because I'm good at it. But even some of me with the minuscule skills I have, you can get a half decent kind of finish with it. And that's what this video is about, just to try and encourage new people to paint some models and enjoy it. That's what this hobby is about. It's a hobby after all, something to enjoy. So let's find out how I paint this chappy. So I start out by undercoating it in Rathbone, and then I'm going to bust out this old school hex pot of rotting flesh. I'm going to use this to paint over, well, all the fleshy parts of his body. He has some open wounds such as his rib cage and his knee, which I am not going to go over. I'm going to leave that and paint that in other colours soon. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to get some Zygor Brown contrast paint and paint over his boot, which on this side is unarmoured. On the other side, it's just around the base of the foot and on the back heel where the actual leather is exposed. I shall also use this colour on his belt and straps that are across his body. And now it's time to use some snakebite leather contrast paint. I'm going to apply this on the straps that are going around his leg and his arm that is holding the axe, and there's one sort of around his bicep on the other arm, and any other areas such as that. I'm going to use wildwood on the handle of his axe. And now, using Skeleton Horde, I'm going to paint his ribcage, his teeth, his fangs, that exposed bone bit on his knee. And there's a little wound on the back and the side that I shall do as well. Around the edges of these wounds, I shall come in with Guilliman Flesh contrast paint. And this is around all the wounds, just get a bit of gory innards started. Whilst I'm waiting for that to dry, I shall paint his sort of loincloth area with some brown, which is Gore Grunter fur. And now, using some red contrast paint, I'm just going to splodge bits around the wounded areas. With all the non-metallic bits done that I want for the time being, I'm going to turn my attention to the metallic. So I'm going to water down some bog gum metal and apply this on the metal bits such as the blade, the axe head, and various bits of armour on the model. Next, he has like a metal vambrace on his arm that I'm going to paint in this bright gold by Coat d'Arms. I'm going to return to the non-metallic paints and paint his rock a grey. At this stage, this is about as good as my models used to look when I first started painting, before I'd understood anything to do with shading and highlighting and whatnot. In fact, this is probably a little bit better due to the contrast paint adding some of the highlights and depth already, so it's already better than what I used to do when I first started. So let's begin to take it to the next level, and I'm going to use some ink armor wash from Coat Arms, and I'm going to apply this all over the metallic bits, silver metallic bits. I love this stuff. This is such a great wash for this job. I've applied it a bit heavy there on the sword, but as I go along I can use my brush to pick up some of that excess as I'm doing here and use that to apply to other bits. So okay, this is already looking better than what I used to do because I never used to do any shading on the metal, but let's again make an improvement to how I used to paint. I mean, well, I'm going back to when I was a young lad here, so that was before computers were probably even invented. I'm old. Yeah, so I'm going to use some Brightening Flesh Shade, and I'm just going to apply this all over the fleshy parts of the body, but I'm not too worried if it gets anywhere else, even the metal bits, because later on I shall be using it to apply a rust effect. Here you can see me applying it even over the golden vambrace. So some of my favourite zombie films are the ones where they pay attention to the eyes. They should be sort of glazed over and dead. So a good example of this is the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. So I wanted to have this really dead eye. So I'm going to use Space Wolf Grey from this old hex pot just to dot in this super dead eye. And now I'm going to come in with some old Citadel bleach bone and go over the fangs and the teeth. Using some Nernal, I'm just going to go over the stone that he's standing on. I am just going to use some of this Coat Arms Horse Tongue Roaring and a small dry brush, and I'm going to go over the handle of his axe in this to weather it a bit. And then whilst I've got it, I'm also going to apply this to his boots and the bottom part of his loincloth to weather and dirty that too. Going to use some mid-grey from Coat Arms and a small dry brush, and dry brush over the rock he's standing on to pick out some details. Okay, so next it's the basin. Whilst this looks like a sterling mud, this is my own homemade texture paint paste stuff. If you watch my Mordheim coaching horse and carriage coach video, you'll see how I do that there. But if anyone's interested, I can make a separate video for it. Let me know in the comments. But yes, I thought I'd just keep my homemade texture paint in this sterling mud pot, as I thought if it's good enough for that, it's good enough for my homemade stuff. It shouldn't dry out or anything. So, and I'm just going to apply that as you would normal with sterling mud. And now, whilst that paint is still dry, the texture paint is still dry, I'm going to come in with my own homemade ready to go basin texture. I've been making this stuff for years. You could, of course, I think Geek Gaming Scenic sell their own variety of it now. But if you want to know how I make this, again, let me know in the comments and I can do a separate video showing you how to make it. I think I went over briefly how to make one earlier on this year in my forest scatterboard, where I made a forest floor ready to go basing material. But if you want to know this one, which is my very generic one, I can let you know. And when that's all dry, you can paint the rim and the base in your colour of choice. I have different colours for different game systems. For generic D&D, I always paint them a grey. This is Citadel's Dawnstone or Codex Grey. But for Middle-earth SBG, I use Bestial Brown or Hairy Brown in Coat Arms. So my old Warhammer models are Goblin Green. I think we've established I use Goblin Green on those on the videos I've done this year on it. But yeah, it's just something I do. I just tend to use different paints, different colour grims for different game systems. And yeah, that's it. That's how I painted him. If you've got this model, let me know how you painted him. I quite like this model. Ideal for Rhyme of the Frost Maiden, which has a zombie ogre in the adventure. So you've got one there. This is from Reaper Bones, of course. Yeah, so yeah, if you've painted this model, go ahead and paint it. Share with me, I think I'm Instagram, Twitter, something like that. Just share with me your how you painted it up. That'd be great to see. But that's it for this video. Until the next one, guys. Stay safe. Take care.